Welcome to another show of the Linity Show. Today we have Shivank Mishra with us right here. Shivank, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, you already introduced my name. So I'm a counseling psychologist. I have done masters in clinical psychology and I work with many organizations as well at the same time. And yeah, that's all.
All right, Shivank. And one question जो मैं सब लोगों से पूछता हूँ, खासतौर से अगर वो counseling या clinical psychologist होते हैं, is that why did you choose your subject? So why psychology for Shivank?
Okay, so because the thing is, when I was in school, I had a really hard time fitting in, and so my mother suggested me to, see a therapist, and I was like, okay, let's just give it a shot and see how that goes. And it worked out very well for me in terms of everything, and you know, so I think eventually I decided to pursue as a career because I thought someone helped me through that situation or that point of time. If no one wasn't there, I might be a different person or I might be doing something different with my life. But yeah, so I mean, I want to be that person for others individual who are still looking for help and they're not getting it. So yeah.
So it sounds like आपका बचपन से एक orientation बन गया था psychology की तरफ.
Yeah.
That's very nice to hear. And how has your opinion on psychology changed over the years? Like जब आप पहले 11th and 12th में पढ़ते थे, and then towards the end of your masters, do you think your perception of psychology changed कहीं ना कहीं?
Yeah, I mean, it changed a lot in terms of, if we talk about how relevant psychology is, like what is the most relevant field of psychology, right? So in that terms, when we were like in 11, 12 standard, we studied the basics. We did not know, like there's something beyond that. But now you see, now if we talk psychology, it's everywhere. Every concept of psychology is equally relevant because, when we were in bachelor's also we used to be like there are people who follow this approach, there are people who follow that approach, but eventually if you see later in life everyone follows a different approach and there are people who follow all the approaches at the same time. So there it's like it's everywhere and it's so relevant, and there's nothing there's people who follow just one similar approach. So I think psychology, uh, every approach is so relevant, that literally made me think about things oh, this is how it works. I mean, people just don't follow psychodynamic or people just don't follow humanistic, but they follow both the things at the same time and you can do it too. So it's more like it also showed me a perception of in terms of how you can be adaptable and to change, and that helps a lot, I guess.
Right. You mentioned psychodynamic and humanistic. Are these any of these perspectives जो आप adopt करते हैं in your personal therapy?
Yeah, I mean, I do adopt it in my therapeutic setting usually, but then I also apply other techniques as well at the same time. Other school, like I also follow behaviorism as well at the same time. So mine approach is more of a collective approach where I use all the schools. What I have learned through my bachelor's or my master's. I try to do it according to my client's need. I mean, it totally depends on my clients. Like what's working for them.
So I think the first few sessions with you would look like figuring out what works for the client, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. Initial sessions are like where you explore your client, and because until unless you don't do that, you don't know like where it's gonna head. If I follow a specific approach to psychology and it's not suiting my client well, it just they're like first three sessions will be a waste of time in terms of we did not even figure out who he is as a person. So that's there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something very very important to figure out your client in the first place, और फिर उसके हिसाब से therapeutic
Yeah.
journey जो है उसको tailor करना, उसको पूरी तरीके से mold कर देना. Now, Shivank, you pursued psychology for about 5 years, and I have to ask this to you as well. What did the people around you think when you opted for psychology?
I mean, it's mostly it's like like you meet people and they're like, can you read our mind? And I was like, no, that's not it. So I mean that is the whole perspective. And then this other perspective, being a male counselor in the field of psychology, it's more like, why did you go into this field? It's like, so there are people have their biases towards, why male counselors, why female counselors. Matlab, in terms of like, because there are a number of female counselors, and women are supposed to be empathetic, but then in India, I think we have that bias of not thinking men as an empathetic being or something. I guess like that's what I have come across. So even in my interviews, everyone's like, why did you like, why you wanted, you're a guy, why you wanted to pursue psychology? I mean, it's just that anyone can have interest in anything and they can pursue anything they want. So yeah, I mean, that is the most random questions come across me other than reading minds. Can you please read my mind? And I think
Yeah.
that's what we are not able to do.
Yeah, and speaking from that perspective of being a guy in psychology and empathy wala jo question hai, I sometimes actually struggle with that as well. Just developing empathy. So have you got like any kind of practices that you particularly do, or does it like come very naturally to you, the empathetic part of the equation?
I mean, the thing is that you can't bring empathy. It's more like it's something. I'll tell you, like I've developed when I was, giving sessions. It's just that I used to be like, when I started out, it used to be so mechanic in terms of, like I used to just try and question them, and it was so blah. Like, then I have a supervisor. She told me, Shivank, let's do one thing, try being their friend. Listen to them, as you listen to your friends. Just be there. Just don't think it as you're a therapist, or you're having you have to question everything. you know for one, just sit and listen to the whole session. You talk as less as you can, let them speak. And then I realized, when you see them as someone, somewhere at some point you relate to, it develops eventually, it comes on you. You'll be like, oh, I mean, yeah, you'll relate to them, and empathy just comes on, and they'll be like, yeah, you feel for them. So it's not more about it comes inherently, but once you start relating to them a little bit, or once you start being friendly to them, then it works. I mean, obviously we are not supposed to be friends with our clients, but having a friendly chat doesn't harm anything.
Yeah, so that's very curious. I noticed that you said that your supervisor asked you to listen to them as if they're your friends. And there's a very popular quote in psychology: ki, "Don't ask your friends to become your therapists." And I think that's because
Yeah,
while friends do the listening part काफी अच्छे से, they just simply do not have the tools to help you beyond that. Like उसके बाद जिस चीज की जरूरत होती है मेरे ख्याल में, that's what they cannot provide, and that's where the counselors sort of come in. And it's very interesting to note, Kay, you said that empathy somewhere is the byproduct of active listening.
yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, obviously, because friends are like, they can help you and hear you to an extent where they're not having the burnout. And sometimes we don't, like, even if I talk about my friends, like we are the ones, because all of us are from psychology background, so we know our boundaries. But someone who doesn't know like where it's coming from or what it is, and sometimes you'll be like, I'm that friend who listens to people. And you don't know, like there are times you don't want to listen to anyone. There are times you just want to talk, and something like that, and it might not work for your friend at that point of time, right? So that is somewhere also, it's like when I say na, talk to them as your friends, listen to them in terms of makes them comfortable, because that's what we are doing. It's a comfortable space for someone who can open up to us. They can trust us like they trust their friends without any judgment. And sometimes judgment comes in with friends, but with us there's no judgment. So once you start having that repo formation, that's what we call in psychology. It just goes way beyond, and you start exploring, because they just get too comfortable with you. They keep on talking about stuff.
I think that was a very beautiful way of putting all of this together. It's very very heartwarming to see this coming from a fellow psychologist as well, Shivank. And I hope that one day I develop the same kind of empathy that you guys employ, that you guys use so much. And just for our viewers who are watching this, who may want to take up a session with you, who may want to get to know you a little bit more. आपके साथ पहला session किस तरीके का लगता है? Like, what is it that you exactly do in your first session?
Okay, so the first session is more of a, if someone comes in, like most of the people know why they're coming in, right? Like because they already have that thought in mind. So my first session is more of like they talking about their feelings, they venting out. It's just me listening to them because if someone have decided that they want to be heard basically. So my first session is more like I'll just listen to them, and that's mostly cover the first session because like we do sessions for like 50 to 1 hour, right? So the first session is mostly like we talk about them and everything. I do not try to intervene in first session a lot because I want to give them that space where they want to just talk it out or vent it out. So that's what my first session looks. In second session we start working on things eventually, but first session is more about repo formation and let the client talk.
Yeah, that is actually very important because I've seen clients kind of weird out when you try to form a plan right from the get go. पहले session से
Yeah.
क्या plan होगा, क्या goal होगा. I think that can wait till like the second or the third session, if I'm not wrong. And Shivang, if you have given homeworks to your clients, what would they look like usually? I know that it varies from client to client, but just like a general sense for our audience.
I mean, see, it totally depends on the willingness to work, I guess. There are clients who are there, who want to, put in all their efforts, but they're not able to. And that is understandable at some point of time. And I just try to, communicate to them, if this doesn't work out, we can find another homework for you. Like, I try to make it as interesting as in terms of, what you like to do. Like it's not me giving them activity. I try to give less activities because I just don't want them to कि मतलब अभी तो लिया 1 घंटे का session, now I have to do it again, right? So I try to give them something which helps them in terms of I like to do this, Shivang, when I'm when I'm doing this, and I give them an options. These are the options which you like the most. You can take it, and that's how it works in my setting. So eventually, everyone does their homework because they are interested in doing those things. So that's how I use it. And most of the time I try to do things in my therapeutic settings because they are active there. I don't know, like they after the session they're tired, they don't want to do it, they do it without even being aware about कि what they're doing just for the sake of it. So I try to make them do it when we are here, so it gets more active, so they don't have to take anything home. Like as kids, we did not like the homework, so I try to give less homework as much as I can.
That's a very good analogy that we did not like homework, so you don't give that much homework or try to make it happen in this session per se.
Yeah.
And showing that was a brilliant exposition of your homework. And I guess my next question would be that how many sessions do you take, which is like a very common question जो like हर client के जहन में कभी ना कभी आता ही है कि मुझे कितने session लगेंगे, right? मैं कितने दिनों के बाद ठीक हो जाऊंगा. Although I usually tell people when they come up to me and ask me, we use Linity services, हम कितने time में ठीक हो जाएंगे. I'm like, it really depends कि आप ठीक होने आ रहे हैं या नहीं आ रहे हैं. Some, because therapy is not only a place to heal, it's also a place to vent. It's also a place to just check it base, to get like a third person's perspective on something, right? So it really varies from case to case. I really understand that. But आपके जो cases होते हैं, whether they be depression, whether they be anxiety, in your experience, what does the time duration look like?
I mean, see, Eric, I totally agree with you. Like, I don't have any cases which are like, specifically ended in time. Like, there are people who did it, like, there are people, it worked for like, they did 4 sessions and it worked for them, and there are people who were like, yeah, chalo, matlab, let's do the longer sessions because it's not working. And eventually people, mostly kya hota hai ki you just, there are times it happened with me also, like therapists need a therapist. Okay. So it's more like when I used to go for therapy, and there are times I felt ki, oh, I've resolved everything and these are the sessions and it just completed. And sometimes I have those days and I go back to my therapist and I'm like, can we have a session? So I think it's more of a learning process throughout where you explore yourself. So I don't think so. Being in therapy is a very good thing. If you want to know yourself better, and I think there shouldn't be a time limit to it. इतने sessions ही लेने हैं. If you keep that in your mind, ना you'll be like कि we are not doctors. कि ये doses ले लिए ठीक हो गई चीजें. So we don't work as doctors in terms of कि अरे 4 sittings लगेंगी और सब ठीक हो जाएगा. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Like we don't know, it varies from individual to individual. So if I say here ना कि अरे 5-6 sessions लेते हैं, everyone will make up their mind कि 5-6 sessions लेते हैं. अगर उसमें ठीक नहीं हुआ तो he's not doing well, right? That can be one of the problematic statements telling people this can be the sessions कि इतने sessions ले लो इसके बाद ठीक हो जाओगे. नहीं, ऐसा होता ही नहीं है. And I don't want to say that to people who are watching this, because if you made up your mind कि 4 session के बाद सब ठीक हो जाएगा, there is a possibility ठीक हो जाएगा, but there's also a possibility कि you have so much to explore and so much to learn.
And I think the worst part is कि एक तो ये लगेगा कि therapist सही से काम नहीं कर रहा. दूसरा, the worst conclusion that they can draw is कि I am too broken to be healed, which is quite shattering. अब वो अगर किसी के दिमाग में बैठ गया, then it's almost like therapeutic attempts सारे के सारे close off हो जाते हैं. एक ऐसे शख्स जो अपने दिल में ये मान लेता है कि मैं ठीक हो ही नहीं सकता, then even the best of psychologists cannot intervene वहाँ पे and help until and unless कि उनका ये belief change ना करा जाए. And now, Shivank, my last question to you is, if you could give one advice to yourself 5 years ago when you were starting out as a first-year student in bachelor's, what would it be?
I mean, it would be more like I would give them, you learn the empathy hard way, not the. Sorry.
I love how it comes back to empathy. I love how it came
I mean,
back
that was it, like I remember working in this internship, and I've been that emotional person altogether. So I was working in this small psychiatric clinic, and there this client, and it was more of a clinical work. So I could not relate to client at all. I was like, nahi ho pa raha hai, and it's just fine, and I don't know. So like again, I had my days where I felt, ki might be this is not the career for me. And my friends have told me like, Shivank, you're so machine, you fit into the corporate world. And I was like, ki, I don't see myself there, right? I don't see myself there. I would want to develop this. And till my master's end, and when I started taking sessions, and first sessions were like very mechanical, and until my supervisor like I've already discussed that, and until my supervisor like, oh Shivank, you learn it through the process. Then I realized yeah, I mean that's what my thought was. I was always pressured to be empathetic person, because that's the first quality you see in a therapist, right? And everyone in my class, like the class full of girls, they have a lot of empathy. They're the most empathetic human beings, to be honest. And being there, and you'll be like, oh, why I'm not feeling what they're feeling. So that was the one thing I would want to tell myself 5 years back. Shivank, you learned it eventually.
And it almost felt like आपने मुझे advice दे दी, because I feel the exact same way. That's the fact that all my female classmates, they're so good at it. It's almost like it.
Yeah.
I often like, I've asked like एक या दो of them कि यार तुम लोगों ने कोई अलग से course किया है, like am I missing something after bachelor's and before masters? Where did this class come from? They're like, it's natural. I'm like, wow. Then maybe I'm you get those second thoughts,
Yeah.
shower thoughts नहीं होते कि like अरे यार maybe this is not for me. But I'm very, very glad to know that it comes with age and it came to you. And I hope that you continue to help people, make better decisions in life and help themselves too. Thank you so much for being on the show, Shivank. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you so much for inviting.